And welcome back to TL Talks podcast. I am TL. As usual, it's good to have you. Usually I record at night, and so today is a rare day recording for my podcast, but it's all the same guy. Before I get started with the thought of the day, I would like to remind you to like and subscribe. So as you know, I've transitioned from an audio podcast into YouTube this year, or in the last few months. And I'm not a huge fan of comments, but if you like the podcast, most people like the content that I've heard feedback from. Hitting the like button is free. If you subscribe, that's also free. And so it just kind of lets me know that you're enjoying what you have. And you can always unsubscribe if you want to later. But if you like it, I don't really see why you wouldn't hit those two buttons. So it's a small request from me to you. Hopefully you oblige, and we'll keep moving. So moving on to and before I get into the thought of the day, the way I look at podcasts is there's the content, the audio, and the video. What I've heard so far is people like the content, but the audio and the video could be better. And so this microphone is what I used to use when I was just doing audio. And so this should help the audio quite a bit. And so all we have left is just video. So once I get the video all professional looking, we should be the real deal. And I know it's kind of crazy because we just started, but TL figures things out. So getting into the actual podcast. Thought of the day is about my New Year's resolution. So I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. I think they have good intentions, but they don't usually play out. Like, they don't follow through with most of them. And so I feel like it's most of the time a waste of time. But since it is a new year, you naturally kind of feel like it's a good time to make some adjustments and some resolutions for the new year. So I want to share mine with you this year because I think that it could help some other people. What I realized for myself was in the year 2021, I was kind of, just living my life. But what occurred to me towards the end of the year is I was subjecting myself to things that annoyed me. And I was like, I wasn't choosing for those things to annoy me, but I kind of was because I was subjecting myself to them. So let me give you a few examples. I was on a Cleveland Browns fan page on Facebook that was just filled with toxic people talking trash about the Browns, about Baker Mayfield, Odell, etc., things that annoy me highly. So in my opinion, if you're a fan of the team, you should like them win or lose, and you should be as positive as possible. And I don't mean being naive and never negative, because there is things that happen that are negative, and it's okay to talk about those things. But for you to be toxic and say over-the-top things about how bad you think the Browns are, or Stefanski is, or Baker is, I just don't have time for it. So what I noticed was I was getting annoyed by these comments and these posts that were coming from this page almost daily, right? And so I had asked myself, like, Terry, leave the page. Like, why are you on the page? You're getting nothing from the page is giving you nothing positive. So why are you on the page? And there's been other examples too. I play Madden is in my spare time. It's a game that I play. So I watch streamers on Twitch that also play Madden and try to learn and become a better player. Well, the problem with Twitch is there's no age limit. So you have a lot of kids on there that are underage, and kids are just being kids. Unfortunately, a lot of kids are immature, and they like to be trolls and be negative and get under people's skin. So I am a 40-year-old grown-ass man. I don't have time to go back and forth with kids. And so what I noticed was I'd just get annoyed. I get annoyed whether it be a kid trolling or a kid trying to get under my skin or just people in chat saying things that are like literally not correct. Like they would put in chat something about an NFL football team and you literally can Google it and it's not correct. So, and that's a problem with social. I'm not going to get on my high horse, but like the problem with social media is people can say anything and there's no fact check. There's no People can say anything, whether it's true or not true, and they're not held accountable for what they're saying. Same thing on Twitch. So people can say whatever, and I personally prefer to seek the truth and stick to the facts. So unfortunately, most people aren't like that. So I was getting annoyed by that. So the easy fix for that is either don't watch Twitch, or watch Twitch. You can make it full screen, so all you're seeing is the streamer. You're not seeing the chat. And so there's these small things you can do, whether it's leaving a Facebook group, unfollowing somebody on Facebook, unfollowing somebody on Instagram. Sorry, let me turn my ringer off. Now that I'm a real estate agent, I always have to have my ringer on. So like I said, whether it's unfollowing somebody on Facebook, unfollowing somebody on Instagram, leaving a Facebook group, or minimizing the chat on Twitch. These are all things that were bothering me almost on a daily basis, annoying me, like more than they should. And then I realized I was subjecting myself to all of it. I can leave the Facebook group. I can unfollow that person on Facebook so I don't see their crap anymore. I can unfollow the people on Instagram that I don't enjoy their content. Like, why am I following you? I don't even know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, Terry, wake up. And then also I told you the fix for Twitch. So that's one of my resolutions. I'm 40 years old. I'm about to be 41. Life is short. It's not worth getting upset about most things. And I was getting upset often about these things. And so you just have to protect your peace, man. And I realized that I was subjecting myself to those things. Adjustments need to be made. Moving on to my next segment, which is called If I Were President. So I'm never going to be the president of the United States, but if I was, I just started this segment recently. I'm just going to give you guys things every podcast about things that I would do a little bit differently if I was president, just for shits and gigs. So this week or this month's episode for If I Was President has to do with price gouging. There is this accepted reality of price gouging in America where there is people that will give you a credit card that has some crazy interest rate. There's so many examples. If you go to a professional sports game, they're charging you $7.50 for a hot dog, like $5 for a drink. So here's my thing. I understand when you're going to a game, you're going to spend more money than you usually would. But the fact that there's no cap on how much they're charging you, and my last example would be college loans. So people have college debt, and then it takes them a while to pay it off. And then, they're charging you a certain amount of interest on it every day, and then that goes up. So I think these things should be capped. I think that you shouldn't be able to be price gouged at a game for more than X amount of dollars. Like, there should be a cap is my point. And so even with college loans, if your original college loan was for $15K, in my opinion, it shouldn't ever cost you, past a certain point. I don't know if that's double. I don't know if it's, if a $15K loan, you shouldn't pay over $20K. It should be capped at $20K or $25 or $30. I think double would be a logical cap. You should never pay more than double of what the original loan was. But whatever it is, there's a way to figure that out. There's a way to figure out what would be reasonable. What would be a reasonable amount to pay this back to where these companies can't just keep on charging you, right? And so I'm disgusted by that. I'm disappointed that it even exists, but it does. But I think something should be done about it because I personally don't enjoy being price gouged and people trying to squeak out every last dollar from me that they can. And so I don't know why it's been accepted by our society, but it has. And so it's kind of where I'm at with it. Moving on to the next segment, which is called TLRantz. I tried to kind of do a little comedy section, but my guy that runs my website, Andrew, he made a good point. He said, I don't really consider it comedy. It's more of like a rant. I said, well, touche. And so now we're going to call it TLRantz. I have a lot of these. I think it's because I'm 40 years old. But I like to get them off my chest. And so if you don't mind, this week's TLRant is about a company called SeatGeek. So if you watch TV, you've probably seen a commercial from SeatGeek. They have these new commercials where they have a person talking, and then on the screen is someone's butt moving to what the words are that are being said. So here's my thing. Who approved that? Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, I'm trying to imagine in my head some guy coming in and he's like, hey guys, I have the best idea. We're gonna make a commercial and they're gonna be talking, and then instead of it being a person talking, it's gonna be a butt talking because we're seat geeks. Get it? Like, how is that bottom line? Who approved that? Whoever approved it, I want your phone number. I want to talk to you because you're an idiot. Like, that commercial makes me angry, right? And that's one of the things that for my New Year's resolution, I can't eliminate it because when I'm watching TV, whatever comes on, comes on. So I can't opt out of SeatGeek commercials. So I'm subjected to it against my will, and it annoys me every time I see it. It's stupid as fuck. Like, what? So like, I don't understand how that's a thing, but it is, and it's been on TV for a while. I think it's stupid. Like, I don't know how anybody bottom lined that or approved it, but it's baffling to me. So I just want to get that off my chest. Two things before we get into the interview. My interview this week is with Camry Veal of the Mississippi Panthers. He's been on before. Awesome guy, awesome conversation, awesome owner and GM for the Mississippi Panthers. So you guys will hopefully enjoy that. Real quick, college football championship was just played. Alabama versus Georgia, SEC versus SEC. Woo. I was pulling for Georgia because I'm tired of Alabama, and fortunately they won. So congrats to Georgia. It was a really entertaining game. Georgia didn't pull away until the fourth quarter. But it was really interesting to see how it played out. Georgia's defense is crazy good, and they kind of looked like they were getting a little bit tired, Georgia's defense, and then they rallied up and finished the game. And so that was the difference. So I enjoyed it. It was a great national championship. Hats off to Georgia. They definitely earned it. And there's a few people on Georgia I wouldn't mind having on my Browns. I'll say that. There's a D tackle, a linebacker, and whenever their tight end comes out of college, he's phenomenal. So, moving on to, last but not least, my Cleveland Browns, before I get into the interview. So, I would have bet 1,000 American dollars that the Cleveland Browns would have a winning record this season. And I would have bet it confidently. The fact that we finished 8-9 is mind-boggling. What I would attribute to that is three things. My big three things are, one, Baker's health. He played through injuries pretty much the whole season. Two would be injuries. Our team was injured in different spots throughout the season that were not ideal. And then three, some questionable coaching, in my opinion. I believe in Kevin Stefanski. I'm not giving up on Baker or Kevin Stefanski. But there was some times where there's some head-scratching things that happened. Play calls, basically, because we know that Kevin makes the play calls. And I just thought it was a little bit below the standard, of what we expect from him and the team. And so we finished 8-9. I could talk for 30 minutes about this, but I won't. It's, as a Browns fan, we have the 13th pick. It is what it is. All those things contributed to a losing season. We did go out with a win against the Bengals, which was nice. But moving forward, it's going to be interesting. They've already committed to Baker as the starter for next year, which I'm glad. I think that when he's healthy, he'll bounce back. But it's going to be interesting to see because I trust Andrew Berry, our GM, too. So to see how he makes moves with our roster, who he lets go, who he trades, just how he handles our roster in the offseason will be interesting. Me personally, what I would address in the offseason is kicker first. Our kicking game was embarrassing. Number 2 would be possibly a tight end. I would personally get rid of Hooper and Njoku and keep Bryant. And so you have to probably get a tight end to replace one of those two guys. A receiver, I think we probably have to get rid of Jarvis Landry, as much as I hate to say it, because I think he's making too much money. And this year he had a lot of drops, and it's just I don't think he was happy about the way Odell was handled. And so it all adds up to he probably needs to move on. So you save yourself money by getting rid of Jarvis, but you kind of need to replace him. So a kicker, a tight end, a receiver. Then you go on to the defense. I would say you probably need to get a D end because Clowney's probably going to leave because of money. You need to get a linebacker because as much as I like Anthony Walker, he's not here's my problem. Our defense, and not just Anthony Walker, most of our defense, they would make tackles and then they would let the person fall forward for extra yards, right? So that's not acceptable. Like when you're watching other teams like the Niners or the Cardinals or whoever, like these hard-hitting teams, when they make a hit, they're stopping you in your tracks or they're pushing you back. You're not falling forward very often. And so I just saw time and time again our guys making tackles and people falling forward. And I think one of the biggest culprits was Anthony Walker. I think Anthony Walker's an awesome dude. I think he has a high football IQ, and I think his teammates love him. But for me, it's not about that. It's about results. And he just isn't an elite linebacker, and so I'd like to replace him. Besides that, there's not much. I wouldn't really mess with the cornerbacks or the safeties. I would get rid of Ronnie Harrison. I think Ronnie Harrison is a little bit of a knucklehead, and he's a liability in coverage. And so I would cut him loose. But that's most of my thoughts on the roster. Before I get into the interview, I guess my closing thoughts on the Browns. I mean, we underachieved. We're used to that. I think it's laughable that the Steelers are in the playoffs. The Steelers have not been a playoff-worthy team all season. They've been a team that basically has Najee Harris and Ben throwing under 10 yards, like my Mickey Mouse offense. Their defense is pretty good. I mean, I heard that they were 32nd in the NFL in rush defense, which isn't good. But then they played good rush defense against the Browns. So it's kind of hard for me to say on that. But I feel like their defense makes enough plays, with T.J. Watt and the other dudes that they can obviously be competitive most of the time. So, I don't know. It's just a weird season, man. The Browns not making the playoffs really sucks. The fact that the Steelers are in is laughable. I'm very confident the Chiefs will knock them out in the first round. The Bengals surprised me. I didn't think they were going to be very good because they can't protect their quarterback. One thing that I've learned is this season is if you have a top 10 quarterback and you go draft his college teammate who's a day one star in Jamar Chase, that actually outweighs a good offensive line that can protect him. So it's weird, man. It's like it defies football logic. Joe Burrow was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL this year, so I was right about him not being protected. But then when he wasn't getting sacked, he was so productive and so efficient and, throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and racking up touchdowns and yards, that was enough production to outweigh when he does get sacked. And so that doesn't That doesn't make any sense to my football brain, but it happened. The Bengals won the AFC North. They're in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win a championship or anything, but they defied logic. And so I guess kudos to them. They're the only team I don't hate in the AFC North, so that's kind of cool as far as the results. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I have on the Browns. So without further ado, we're going to get into the interview. Like I said, this interview is with Camry Veal of the Mississippi Panthers. Like I said, awesome dude, awesome to talk to him. Always great conversation. There was one time in the interview where I took a chance, and I didn't know if he was gonna agree with me on something, but fortunately he did. So there's no no hard discussions to be had. But here you go, Camry Veal, Mississippi Panthers.
I'd like to welcome back Mr. Camry Veal of the Mississippi Panthers. It's been about a year since we talked, man. How have you been, and how is the team?
I've been good, man. I'm happy to be back on the show. It has been that long. It does not seem like it's been that long, but
yeah,
it's going fast. I've been good. The team is growing. Everything is going good on our end down here in Mississippi. So yeah, just happy to be back home.
I appreciate that, man. So, a funny story that you wouldn't know unless I told you is
Okay.
with WNFC. You know, as you know, I'm affiliated with the Denver Bandits, and
Right.
we've been with the league ever since it started. And so, you know, Denver had a decent season. I think we finished 4-2. Barely missed the playoffs, but you know, since the WNFC has the luxury of you know, not having 60 or 70 teams, it's a lot easier to kind of keep track of people, right? As you know, their model for their league is to be, you know, professional basically, and eventually get these players played, paid. Players paid. Sorry, it's hard to say.
Right.
So since they have that professional model, you know, they're not really looking to have more than 32 teams like the NFL has. And so since they have less teams, it's easier for us, especially that are in the league, to kind of keep track of those said teams. And so something that you don't know is me and a couple of the coaches or owners on the Panthers, just for fun, right? We'd be traveling to our game at Las Cruces or wherever, and we just to kind of pass the time, we'd be like, okay, all right, who's playing this week? Who do you got? You know, I mean, we have these little competitions to kind of test our knowledge. And early in the season, I remember picking you guys, you know, to beat. You know, I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was like Atlanta, Phoenix, and maybe the Washington team. Because I know you and I know your team, and you know, I was impressed with your guys' record in the WFA coming over, and I was impressed with you, to be honest with you, about your vision for the team, and so I was really excited for you guys to actually play in the WNFC, and I was confident in how it would all pan out. Well, as you know, in the beginning, you know, I was picking the Panthers to win, and I took some L's.
Yeah, you took two of them.
Yeah. I was like,
two of them early.
Yeah, so I can relate, right? Because my team went to Las Cruces and unfortunately lost to them, and we lost to Utah Falcons, and so we had our losses too. Fortunately, we played 4 teams that didn't have winning records, and so those are who our wins were against. But fortunately for you guys were able to turn it around as well, and kind of go on a run and make the playoffs. And I mean, for your first year in the league, I think you guys did phenomenal. I'm not surprised at all. But it's just funny, man. It's funny how it all played out. But I've been waiting for months to talk to you about it, because I know we've been able to stay in contact through messages and stuff, which I really appreciate. But of course, one of the things about women's football is it's hard to keep track of why teams are really doing good and bad on a year-to-year basis, because there's going to be some turnover, right? Natural turnover every season.
Right.
You don't know if teams are missing coaches. You don't know if somebody couldn't make a trip. You don't. I mean, you just don't know, right? And so all you're seeing usually is scores. The luxury we have with the WNFC is they're able to stream a lot of their games. And so if you're available, you know, obviously sometimes you play at the same time, but if you're available to watch a game and you want to watch a game, you probably can with WNFC, which is a huge luxury.
Right, exactly.
But I was not able to watch those games, maybe a little bit of them, but not enough to, you know what really happened. But let's start, Camry, with how your season started, man, and what happened with those first couple games that you guys lost. Because you weren't playing bad teams, you know what I mean? Like Atlanta Phoenix is not a slouch, and Washington, I mean, they won titles.
We played Alabama the first game.
Alabama,
you see how they came out this season, and we played Atlanta the second game.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. What I attribute it to is it was a mixture of things, man. It was crazy. It was I couldn't put my finger on it, but as I sat back and just thought about it, I was like, okay. My first thing I would attribute it to is just over preparing for it. You know, we were ready for that first game, and then COVID happened. Naturally, shut everything down. So we took a little break and we took a little time away, and you know, of course, everybody kind of had to. And Mississippi was actually one of the first states to open up, and you know, they pretty much let you do whatever you want. So of course, we practiced precaution and things like that, but we were back practicing way early. You know, way early in comparison to other people and things like that. And I just think over preparation was one. It's a weird thing because I think we over prepared but under prepared, if that makes sense. What happened is we had a big, like you said, turnover. Mm-hmm. We had a big turnover, but we also had a big influx of brand new women. So by having all these women come in who were brand new, never played football, never played flag, never played pretty much anything. Right. With COVID, we didn't have time to scrimmage. We didn't have time to, you know, meet up with other teams and get the rust off and let them know, like, hey, this is football. That first game, you know, the Alabama teams are seasoned vets. Pretty much everybody on their team has played football in some capacity. And they just took it to us. Like, you could just see, like, okay, we got we're not mentally conditioned for it. Right. Just, you know, everything that could go wrong, that game went wrong. Right. For example, like the first 5 plays, like my top wide receiver in DB, literally standing still, about to take off running toward Achilles out for the season. My top tight end broke her wrist in the game. My star running back broke her thumb in the game. It was just like, man, what else can, you know, go through?
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just pretty much, we lost that battle of attrition because we were hanging in there with them for a while. You know, my defense was hanging in there. And
Alabama?
This was Alabama, game 1. Okay. And then the same exact thing happened in Atlanta, except for the fact the injuries didn't happen. We were just going into the game injured. So pretty much the same exact thing happened when we played Atlanta. Atlanta had experience and things like that, and pretty much just took it to us. We hung in there for the first half, and the second half it all went downhill. And man, so we had a come to Jesus meeting after those games, and you know, we had 3 weeks off. Luckily, the timing was perfect. So though I saw those 2 games as our preseason, I didn't even consider them my season, and I told my team, and me and my head coach at the time was Steven Jackson. He's also an owner of the team as me. We spoke, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll probably win out the rest of these games because they know what to expect." And that's exactly what happened. You know, we took those 3 weeks and changed pretty much everything about the team, pretty much everything about, you know, how we need to practice, what we need to exercise, what we need to fix, and, you know, we won out. But, yeah, those first 2 games were crazy. Yeah, they were crazy. Like, it was like that scene on the Pirates of the Caribbean when the captain is walking down the boat and everything's just blowing up, but he's walking just a normal speed. It was like that for me, man. It was just crazy. I was just like, I had no clue what I was getting into because it was just a faster speed. Like, you know, you hear about the differences between the WNFC and the WFA, and you know, you can kind of see it, but you can't see it until you play them. And I saw the difference.
Nothing substitutes experience.
Nothing. And when I saw the level of talent that this league had, I was like, yeah, we got to step it up. Like, you know, I was just so used to, you know, other competition that I was just like, nah, you know, this will be good. We got all this talent, man. We've got a stacked roster, and now it just didn't matter. Experience trumps everything, you know. Experience trumps all. So yeah, that's kind of what happened with us, man. It just was, we got took off guard those early games. I'm sorry, I lost some bets for you. But
no, it's all good. It's all in fun. I'll probably see if the owner of the band, his name's John Lutz. He has pretty good knowledge about football in general, and so I'll probably see if he wants to put some money on it this year. I think he might have beat me by 1, or we might have tied, but he was up on me most of the season, and luckily you guys turned it around, and so I got to pick up some points with your comeback. But that's crazy, man. Like I said, I've been waiting to talk to you about it because I was so curious, you know, just as a fan of the sport, honestly. You know, it helps that I know you, and so I have a little bit of insight with the team. But like you said, nothing substitutes actual experience. And unless you have the time and you're available to watch, you know, the film of the whole game, it's kind of hard to say how everything went down. And so I had my hands full. What I do for the Bandits is kind of like a advisor/analyst role. So advisor as in giving the owners advice, you know, when I see fit, because I've been around the sport for a while, but also analyst. So I break down film for upcoming opponents. And so since we weren't paying the Mississippi Panthers, there's no reason for me to break down your film.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's cool to hear what happened. Obviously not cool for the team. But a couple things come to mind, man, already. First thing is one thing that the Denver Bandits do a good job of is they pretty much in the last 2 years, they've made it mandatory, maybe 3 years, but definitely the last 2 years, they made it mandatory that they're going to play a game before the season. Like whether you want to call it a scrimmage or a preseason game, you know what I'm saying? If you want to do preseason and charge people a little bit of money to come in, whatever you want to call it, they're playing a game preseason. Like they're not gonna let their first game be their first game. And so that's been such a blessing, man, because I know when I coached another team in the WFA before, that wasn't really my mindset. And this is my fault, but my mindset was, yeah, we could play a preseason game and that would be great, especially for the rookies. But if I have one of my big players get injured in a game that doesn't matter, I'm going to be hot. And so I think that mentality is wrong, because I've been around football and women's football and good coaches for a while now, and I think the opinion that makes more sense than mine, because mine is fear-based, right? I'm not really a fear-based person in my personal life, but what I've heard from other coaches is they're not fear-based, and they're saying they want to get their team prepared however that looks. So if that means you're going to be practicing full speed against each other and tackling, then it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to not do something out of fear of something else happening. And so that's something that your team probably will adopt if you're able to. Obviously, it's not ideal with COVID and stuff like that. Who knows when that's going to be over. But you obviously learned your lesson. You're a smart man. And so having a preseason game, man, I wouldn't say against anybody, because if you're playing, you know, some team that, you know, barely has a team, you know what I'm saying? It may be another league, whatever. Probably another league if it's barely a team. But, like, if the quality is so low that your team isn't challenged at all, then it almost is a waste of time, you know what I mean? Especially
a waste of time,
Yeah, besides, you know, maybe hitting somebody, you know, there's a little bit of a balance. You have to have a little bit of pushback for it to be worth it.
Exactly right.
But yeah, you understand, man.
Yeah, it could build a false sense of security, you know, playing against teams who just aren't good. You know, like I said last time we spoke, I come from I guess you can say the martial arts background with the kickboxing and stuff, and you know, just sparring is so important. If you're not sparring, if you're not getting off rounds with people who don't care about you, and it's somebody that actually can push you and actually test what you're weak at, that's the main thing. That's the main thing I feel about these scrimmages and preseason games, it gives you a great clue as to what you need to fix. Not necessarily what you're good at, because that's, who cares?
Yeah.
It gives you a
You
good
want to know
thing
what
on
you're not
paper.
good at.
Right. Okay, I need my O-line to be a little bit stronger. I need my D-line to be a little bit stronger. Okay. My DBs, can get exposed, I guess, deep. They're not good at covering deep. So we got to fix that. Just anything that we can, possibly do in those scrimmages that don't count. And, that's how I look at it. And I can kind of sort of agree with you, in the sense of some people go into it with a fear mindset.
Yeah.
And me as a GM of the team, I definitely went into it with a tentative mindset. Like, well, I don't want one of my star players to get hurt, but I understand it's necessary.
Yeah, it's like a necessary evil.
Right, it's a necessary evil. I definitely didn't want it to happen, but I'm like, yeah, it's kind of got to happen to see where we are.
Yeah.
This season, we've already reached out to about 2 or 3 teams who are interested in doing some things with us. Just waiting to see how everything shakes out. But, yeah, man, we definitely learned our lesson. And understand that we got to go to got to get full speed before it's time to go full speed. It's not a great idea. Any team in this league to wait until the last minute to be ready.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there is some similarities, I would say, between my team and your team. And the reason I say that is because we're both young teams. We haven't been around for a long time. I think we both finished last season 4-2 in the league. But more importantly, the culture, right? Like, I wouldn't know without talking to you, Camry, that in your first game you lost, 2 starters that hurt their Achilles, before they even took off. I wouldn't know that you had a running back with a broken thumb, et cetera, et cetera. So having that bad of luck injury-wise,
right?
If anything, I take my hat off to you guys, because for a lot of teams, especially in women's football, if they have a lot of injuries, especially injuries at key positions, forget about it, dude. Like they don't have the depth to recover from that. So for you guys to be able to weather that storm and lose some players, and be able to adapt and work around that and still put a winning season together is really impressive. I'm not surprised at all. Like I said, I had all the confidence in you guys from day one.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, hats off to you guys, because like I said, a lot of teams would fold. I wouldn't say literally fold their season.
Quit.
But I mean, exactly. They would just get down. They'd say, we can't. We're missing too many weapons. So it's just bad luck. Maybe next season. But you guys, to your credit, said screw that. We lost 2 games. The season's not over. And now, like you said, the come to Jesus meeting. Let's figure it out and just change our mindset and change what we need to change. And it sounds like you guys have a culture of accountability, which is what you need. And so,
definitely.
Yeah, that's dope, man. One of the reasons that I picked you guys, you and the Panthers, as one of my first interviews, now that I've come back to I kind of took a break from my podcast, and I came back, and now I'm on YouTube instead of just being audio.
Welcome back.
Yes, appreciate it. My first one was with my buddy that works for the Cleveland Browns, because I was dying to talk Cleveland Browns with somebody. And you were my second interview. You were my second interview. The reason that I picked you is because not only do I like talking to you, and the Mississippi Panthers were one of the top teams in the league last year, in my opinion. They finished 4-2, made the playoffs, and had a nice turnaround. But also, man, when I talk about culture of accountability, when you really dissect culture of a team, the reason I say that our teams are kind of similar is because you guys have a bigger mindset about what you want to do with your team. Like your long-term vision for the team, what I've seen on social media is awesome. And I wouldn't say that our teams are doing the same things, but I would say that the results are kind of the same, because what I've seen with my team, man, is stuff I've never seen before, which is awesome, because I used to be a head coach of a team that was successful. That had a decent amount of success in WFA. So for me to see things I've never seen before, things, and we talked about this before, like having 11v11 in practice, and this season, dude, I've been blown away. I'm not sure if it's a WNFC thing, or the Bandits culture. I know women talk. You know, we all know that in normal life.
Correct.
The answer is probably all the above. But for whatever reason, the influx of players that want to play for the Denver Bandits has been mind-blowing. So I'm talking about like players, you know, leaving, you know, the Las Cruces team to not only play for the Bandits but move to Denver, right? Like they're relocating to play for the team. 3 players leaving, you know, the Phoenix Prowlers to come play for the Denver Bandits. There's players that just naturally relocated to Denver, and they were players other places. Now they're playing. But then the last thing is we have a few players that are not even living here. Like they live in Chicago, you know what I'm saying, or wherever, and they're saying, okay, how can we make it work? You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's Las Cruces' quarterback, I think he still lives in Las Cruces. She's not really willing or able to move. But she wants to play. She wants to play football, and she wants to play for us. She has several friends.
Good. Yeah, she's good.
She is.
She's very good.
So you have her, right? That's still living in Las Cruces, wants to play for us. You have a couple of players that live in Chicago that want to play, and so now, with all that said, you have your core group of Bandit players that were already good, right? You're already having a solid core. Then you build on that with other good players from other teams. Because if you just get players from other teams and they're not good, then I mean, you just have more numbers. But if you have more numbers, if you have all pro players, right, from Phoenix, from Las Cruces, or if you have you know, players that were starters at least for other teams, now you're having an influx and an infusion of real talent. So now you have people that are possible new starters coming in. Now your starters are going to be challenged. Now you have more position battles. And so it just makes everything better. And so one of the things that's I'm curious about how this season's going to go for my team is, and I was thinking about this before I called you. I said, okay, well what contributes to a successful women's football season? Or what attributes to a championship mindset in our sport, specifically in the WNFC? Like, what does it take? You know what I'm saying? Like, what I came up with was, one, having good numbers. You know, like you said, the war of attrition. You have to have that. Number 2, talent. So if you have great numbers and no talent, good luck. You know what I mean? You have Hall of Fame coaches. Number 3, the culture. If your culture is doing the right things and, you know, all the ways that a culture should be going, that's going to contribute to, you know, players wanting to stay, players, you know, recruiting other players. And then lastly, coaching. So if you have, as you know, if you have great coaching and a decent roster, you can have a great season because the coaching can bridge the gap. But, so what I'm interested in is for our team, we have great numbers. We have a lot of talent, in my opinion, and we have a good culture, I think, obviously, because if we wouldn't have this many players or players coming in if we didn't have a good culture. Right. So the only thing that's debatable is the coaching part. And so what I'm interested in, because I'm not a coach anymore, so I'm kind of on the outside watch. I'm just trying to help out with film and stuff like that. But these coaches, I wouldn't say I feel bad for them, but I feel like for Marcel, the owner, he's the head coach and owner, I feel like, you know, he's got his work cut out for him, man. Like when as you know, if you're trying to manage 70 women, you know what I mean? Exactly. And 6 of them live out of state, and you got, you know, 6 of them that relocated just to play for you. And you have your core and all that stuff. I mean, kind of like herding cats at times. And so trying to figure that out. And for me, as a fan of the sport, it's all about getting the most out of what you have. And so reaching your full potential with what you have. And so I think the Denver Bandits, our upcoming team, they went 4-2 last season, barely missed the playoffs. But this season, I think our schedule is harder, in my opinion. And so, like you said, the WNFC doesn't wait around for anybody. So if you're not ready, you're going to get walked through, and it is what it is. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting to see how those coaches of the Bandits put that roster together. You know what I mean? How they get the most out of the players that they have. And then, our first game's at Utah, which isn't ideal. And so,
right, that's a tough game for anybody.
Yeah, so it's also like, it sucks that that's the first game. Obviously, a preseason game will help, but at the same time, you don't join the WNFC to avoid playing good teams.
Avoid the big, right, exactly. Because that's not going to happen. I think they can do it. I met John and Marcel at championship weekend, actually.
Right.
We were doing a lot of talking at the game and the commissioner's brunch. And they seem like they have it under control in the sense of that. Now, the main thing that I've noticed because like you said, our coaches are kind of similar, the way our organizations are being ran and things of that nature, because we have some out-of-state girls and, of course, with our global deal that we've got going on, we've got some out-of-country girls coming just like y'all, So it's honesty, I feel, is the best way to keep everything in a unison, keep everything together, letting people know exactly what's up, especially for your out-of-state girls, your out-of-town girls. My coaching staff does a great job of telling them exactly where they stand, how they do this, constant communication, constant videos, and making sure that we're constantly understanding, exactly what's happening. So that way, nobody's left in the dark and there's no, I guess if you will, weak links. Because you can bring in somebody great. You can get a player that's great, but if she doesn't know your system and can't really practice with you.
There's no other plays,
Right, exactly. If it's a quarterback who doesn't have time with the wide receivers, you'll probably hurt your team more than help them. So, bringing in the players that they're bringing in and revamping the way they are, that's a great thing, in my opinion. And especially Denver, man. Everybody wants to live in Denver now. It's just a new hot spot. I've got a friend that lives in Denver who every week, without fail, is sending me something to try to convince me to move to Denver. Every week, without fail, it happens. A guy named Cass. And yeah, man, so like I was saying, going back to the Bandits, in my personal opinion, they were one of my teams that I liked in the Pacific Conference. I think the ones that I liked the most were you all and Rebellion. And, those were the teams where I was kind of following you all, the schedule a little bit more than others. And it just, I feel, from watching a few of your games, just not too long, like you said, just catching it when I could. You definitely have the talent and you definitely have the pieces there to build something great. So now you're bringing in other players from other teams and picking them off, kind of like how I like to do. I like to, find and siphon. That's what I say. I like to find players and teams of, around in the local area. It's competition. I want all the best players to play for me. Yeah. Sorry, I understand that's not realistically going to happen, but that's what I want. So we're exactly. We're owners and GMs. That's what we're looking for. So, like I said, I guess to speak a little bit more about the Panthers, we the word culture, I believe, is the most important word. I think players will come to teams who they feel like they can build something with instead of just be a part of a team. Anybody can put you a part of a team, but if I'm getting nothing out of it, a championship, I believe, is the last thing that a player is looking for. For some, it's the first and the last and everything to them, but for most players, I think the championship is the last thing. I always bring up college football. If everybody was just looking for a championship, Alabama have enrollment out the door, because you're pretty much going to win a ring. But then if you're there for 4 years, at least 2 of those 4 you're winning a ring. Guaranteed. That's not even a mystery at Alabama. But, people go to other schools and other organizations because of their culture, because what they're building, they can see something that's important for them. And I like the fact that the Panthers is becoming one of those teams because we started rough, it's just our third year playing, third playing year. We started off low, just like everybody else, just kind of sort of just figuring it out. And we're finally switching that vision on into what I wanted to see as a professional women's team. We're finally turning that corner, I should say, and getting to that point. So, yeah, man, I think it'll be interesting to see what Denver does this year, especially with all those new pickups. I'm excited to see that. Right.
Yeah, now that you're talking, I actually left one thing out. So not only does Denver have the good core of players with players transferring from other teams and players trying to play from out of state, but also we have a couple international players that have relocated to us. I know for sure, I want to say at least one or two. Yeah, there's one that was, I think, from Finland, and I want to say another one from Australia. That's even another thing, right? Like, who knows? I mean, these other leagues are different. You know what I mean? Some of them aren't playing 11v11, so you never know the quality of those leagues. But I know that the girl from Finland, she was voted Rookie of the Year for her team over there, and now she is living in Denver. You know what I mean? She's playing for us, and she was. The owners were telling me she was ecstatic, like she could not wait to get here and play. And so we'll see how it all plays out. But when you have that farm system, for lack of a better word, you know what I mean, where I think the only thing, honestly, Denver's missing, now that I'm thinking about it, is a true farm system has everything going on that Denver's has going on. The only thing that you would add is a farm system of younger girls. So girls that aren't even of age yet, right? And so if you want to call them, you know, little bandits or junior bandit, whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm saying? Some kind of system where you have younger girls coming up, and if they're playing flag football, you know, which is more safe, that's all good. But just helping them learn the game, say no football, and then when they do become of age and they're able to play, they hit the ground running. So, yeah, I mean, to their credit, that's the only thing they're really missing. everything else they got covered. And before I continue, I want to clarify one thing that I've said. And I told you, you know, kind of what contributes to a winning team as far as numbers, talent, culture, and coaching. I think that the Denver Bandits cover the first three easily. And I think the Denver Bandits have a good coaching staff. But as you know, there's different levels, right? There's bad coaching staffs, there's decent coaching staffs, there's good coaching staffs, there's great coaching staffs. And so I'm not sure where we land, right, to be honest with you. I haven't coached the team in years. I obviously know all the coaches. I think we have a good coaching staff, but, you know, when you're playing against teams like Utah Falcons, San Diego Rebellion, Spartans, and the Mississippi Panthers, that could be the difference, you know what I mean? That could be the difference between you having, you know, a 4-2 season or a 2-4 season. You know what I'm saying? So I know I'm preaching to the choir. You already know that. And I'm not trying to.
You're absolutely right, man.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but
no, coaching is everything. Coaching is everything, man. I've come to realize that, like, coaching is everything. Coaching is pretty much the end all be all. You know, in this sport, you know, you look at a guy like Belichick and what he can do with people you've never heard of. You know, that's superior coaching. You know, is definitely levels to his coaching, and you know, we've had our coaches tweaked so many times, man. We've had coaches lost coaches, had coaches got rid of coaches, had to move on for coaches. It's just we're still figuring it out. You know, I feel like this coaches group that we have now is the coaches group. I've got a lot of trust in these guys, and I guess I could say guys and girls. We have some female coaches as well on the staff, and I feel like this group that we have is a great group, and a group that I would like to deal with personally from an ownership perspective. Is, you know, I want to see where this goes in the next couple of years, and so yeah, man, I definitely agree with you on coaching. You gotta have it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't wait, man. I love what you were alluding to earlier. I think was with transparency. Transparency with your team, and then also getting transparency from the league. So the fact that the WNFC has already posted the schedule for the whole season as early as they have is just so awesome, because not only do teams have more time to plan around set schedule, you know, with work schedules and stuff, but also it just creates a buzz. I mean, when you see stuff like, you know, Denver at Utah week 1, you're like, okay, well, here we go. I mean, a whole bunch of new players, you know, 7 on the roster, you know, if you're going to find out anything, it's going to be in Utah, and so there's no all gas, no brakes. So
all gas, no brakes.
Yeah. But I'm excited, man. This season should be interesting.
It should be.
I wanted to talk to you briefly about the Carolina Panthers because since you were on before, I know about your fandom of the Carolina Panthers, which is why you named the Mississippi Panthers what they are. So this season obviously wasn't ideal for you.
Not at all.
But what is now that the season's over, what is your takeaways, good and bad, about how, what happened and what attributed to your record?
The only thing good I see that came from it was we do have a top 10 defense.
Okay.
We lost a lot of, we lost our number one draft pick early when J.C. Horn went down. And, but our defense is top notch. And I do like our defense. They're young. They're getting after the ball. They're doing a lot of things. And they're holding people, to barely, the Panthers hasn't. I think we had some stats to where nobody has, the whole season we didn't allow anybody to score in the first quarter, a touchdown at least. In the first quarter, we're the only team to do that. That's a positive. Offense, man, I don't know. I just have no clue. I'm not, Sam Darnold is just not the guy. He's just not the guy. I have no personal problem with the guy, but, man, I watched him live about 2 weeks ago. Went to New Orleans to watch the Saints play, man, against the Panthers, and I just literally saw this guy throwing balls in the dirt. And I'm like, nah, this just won't cut it. This just will not cut it. And he's, I guess he's a good guy, good kid. He can go somewhere else and play, but he's just not our quarterback. And Cam Newton got kind of thrown into a weird fire, I feel. Everybody's blaming him. I'm like, well, it was an impossible situation. You fire the head, the OC, half your O-line goes down, trying to incorporate brand new plays on the fly, and expect the guy to, no pun intended, but be Superman. It's just not going to happen. So I just feel like I definitely feel like we should have made a coaching change. I don't feel like Matt Rule is the guy to get the coaching done. I don't feel like he's...
I was curious what you thought of that, because there's already been like 7 coaches let go, and I know that they said they're going to keep Rule.
Yeah, I just have no clue why. I'm not sure why. Like, if it were me, I would say go get Brian Flores right now. Because he's a defensive-minded guy, and look at what he did with Miami, and our defense is already top 10. Go get him now. Don't wait. Go get Brian Flores, find you a quarterback, build your quarterback up, and you will be on your way. If McCaffrey can ever stay healthy, you'll be on your way. Our team isn't bad. It's just, like I guess one of those pillars we were talking about, man, just coaching. Coaching and believing in the wrong people, because it's just offensive, just stupid decisions. I feel we were making just incredibly stupid decisions and just not having the right guy taking the snaps.
I agree with you, man. CMC's had injury problems. He's an elite running back, but he misses a lot of games. Like you said, Cam Newton was kind of put in a tough situation where he was grateful to, be on a team and be playing, especially starting. But also, it wasn't an ideal situation for him to succeed. And so I feel like when he first came to the Panthers, he kind of gave them some juice, you know what I'm saying? Because their team was down, especially offensively. And so he was able to kind of spark the offense, and he was a familiar face. And he had the offense clicking a little bit better. But then as, a couple games later, basically, he succumbed to what the offense was. You know what I mean? And to his credit, man, I played football my whole life, and I usually play quarterback or receiver. So I know, as a quarterback, if you're put in a situation, where you have a bad offensive line and you don't have time to breathe or make reads or do anything, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter even if you're Tom Brady. We saw, I think Tom Brady, didn't he get shut out by the Saints 9-0 this season?
Yep.
So that just shows you. Tom Brady's, a lot of people say Tom Brady's the GOAT. And even though he probably is, he got shut out by the Saints, and the Saints defense was clicking. if that doesn't prove anything, I don't know what does.
Right, exactly. You know, you can look at the Super Bowl last year and see prime example of how important your O-line is.
Yeah.
When Patrick Mahomes lost 3 of those offensive linemen, the Buccaneers just had a field day with the dude.
Yep.
You know, that's just, and that's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It absolutely means nothing if you don't got time in the pocket. If you don't have time, none of that means anything.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes is, he's like the opposite of Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like he's like young, mobile.
Yeah,
to make a whole bunch of throws. Yeah.
Yep.
Tom Brady's like a statue back there. So
exactly.
they literally couldn't be different. But even though he is that mobile and can make all those crazy throws, it didn't matter.
Nothing.
You know what I mean? It was just the Bucs were going to send heat, and to his credit, he played his ass off, and he did everything in his ability to make that game competitive. But at the end, that just wasn't enough. And it is what it is, I guess. But it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which brings me to my next thing I want to talk to you about, which is Coach Flores. Now, man, I think you posted on social media about this, and I know you already agree with me. But let me tell you, listen, man. Like I'm a diehard Browns fan. So as far as what I care about is basically only what affects the Browns, and so directly it's the AFC North, right? I go with other teams in the AFC North. It's in my best interest as a fan to be educated about what they're doing and what they're not doing. So that's what I'm concerned with, Camry. 99% of the time. The Dolphins firing Coach Flores was one of the rare times. It's one of the 1% times where I literally was visibly upset. Like it pissed me off as a football fan. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care about the Dolphins. You know what I'm saying? If the Dolphins go 0-16 or 16-0, it has no bearing on me. I have nothing against them. I'm not pulling for them. Like I'm indifferent towards them, right? But as a football fan and as a former coach, right? For me to see that team win 9 games, which is a winning season in the league, with me to see them in a division with the Patriots and the Bills, and to go 2-0 against the Patriots, and have like kind of inconsistent play from the quarterback position, all that stuff adds up to me and says there's no way you should fire that guy.
Right, exactly.
Like
none.
Logically, like zero reason. So for them to fire him, I don't know, man. I don't know what to pull from that. Like, I wouldn't really.
It made no sense.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, like, how to even like intelligently talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Because it makes no logical sense.
The only thing I can assume is, I believe the ownership. If you listen to a lot of the stories that's going on, the guy who owns the team, I'm not sure who it is, but he wants to kind of sort of be like a Jerry Jones and call all the shots and, it's my way and I want this. And Brian Flores is the complete opposite. He's more of a, Belichick disciple. So he's very stern and very, I want this, period. This is how it's going to go, period. He didn't believe in Tua from the beginning, I believe. I don't think he wanted to draft Tua. I think he wanted what's the guy? Herbert, actually. But, ownership overruled him and said we're going with Tua. So, I just think it was a clash of a relationship, honestly. I just don't think they fit well.
Which is very possible.
Right.
We know that, the Browns had John Dorsey a couple seasons ago, and that was pretty much why he left. He was a good GM. Right. He made some good moves to the roster. But at the end of the day, it came down to he wanted to have pretty much complete control, and the organization didn't want him. They wanted him to have control over roster decisions. That's what a GM is. But for him to have complete control, like you said, Jerry Jones type stuff, they weren't real willing to do that. And they didn't think he really needed to be in that role. And so he said, okay, well, I'm out of here. And that's what it is. What it is. Luckily for the Browns, we have Andrew Berry now, who I think is a very good GM in the league, and I trust his decision making. And so it's so nice, man, for the Browns to be as bad as they have been for so long. and then to finally have, a good, smart GM that makes good draft picks and makes good moves in free agency, and also have a good head coach. I think this season there was some times where I scratched my head on some coaching decisions with the Browns, but at the end of the day, man, my conclusion is I'm a guy on a couch, right? I'm a guy on a couch watching the game, and especially with all the criticism of Baker Mayfield, my biggest takeaway from this season as a fan, and it's crazy I didn't really come to this conclusion until I'm 40 years old, but it's just that when you're watching a game, the camera's going to follow the ball. So if it's 3rd and 9, Baker Mayfield's in shotgun formation, they snap the ball to him, he's looking, he gets sacked. So it looks like he didn't pull the trigger and try to get a first down, but without you seeing the whole film and seeing down film, which not many people have access to that, you don't know if everybody was covered, right? So everybody's going to say, okay, well, it looks like he's not pulling the trigger, he's taking sacks on key downs, yada, yada, yada. But the truth is you don't have the full story. So we don't have the full story about what happened behind the scenes with Brian Flores. We don't have the full story about why the Browns decided to give Nick Chubb the ball 4 times in the first half. Sometimes you get some answers. You get some interviews, and they say, Nick Chubb bruised his ribs. So we let him chill out until the second half. So sometimes you get some answers, but as far as the film goes, man, there's so much we don't see. And everybody's got an opinion.
Small stuff, right.
Yeah. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody thinks they're right. And I get so annoyed, man, especially as a true Browns fan and a pretty knowledgeable NFL person in general, for people just to, throw, the coach or the players under the bus. It's just like, man, you don't have even close to all the facts. So how could you even have a strong opinion? You know what I mean? It's just so dramatic. But, it's our society, I guess.
Yeah. Man, everybody's got outside opinions. Everybody armchair coaches, and that's just how it is, man. Everybody's gonna say, "Well, you should have did this. You should have did that." And it just is what it is. A lot of people get Baker Mayfield a lot of hell, and it's easy to say something, but being in the NFL doing it is completely different. And like you said, the camera does follow the ball, so there's a lot of small stuff that you don't see. I'm not going to say that Baker Mayfield is just, completely without blame. But who is it? Everybody's blamed for something. Tom Brady throws picks. Tom Brady makes stupid decisions.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm not a Baker apologist, but I also think it's not really fair to blame everything on him.
Everything on him.
Exactly. He was playing through injuries this season. We had our fair share of injuries. I think there was some questionable coaching at times. And so I think all those things contribute. They all contribute to how the season goes. And if you're missing, a couple of your offensive linemen, or you're missing Kareem Hunt, or you're missing, guys on defense, key guys, all that stuff matters, man. And so I know there's no teams that are fully healthy. And I know there's teams that are worse off than we are, like the Ravens. They had a crazy amount of guys on IR. But at the same time, for the high expectations that the Browns had this season, I would have bet $1,000, Camry. I would have bet $1,000 American dollars that the Browns would have a winning record this season. So the fact that we finished 8-9 is just mind-boggling to me. It's like, how is it even possible? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But the NFL, nobody cares except for Browns fans.
Yeah, exactly.
They're professionals, so it is what it is. So, one thing I want to ask you about, the last 2 things I had for you before I let you go, this next one is something I'm taking a chance on because you might disagree with me, but I'm okay with that. We're not supposed to agree on everything. So I'm going to ask you about Antonio Brown, and then we're going to wrap it up with Mississippi Panthers as far as what you guys got going on specifically. I want you to go in as much detail as you can, and then kind of your plan for right now until the season. Because for us, we're starting practice this week, so you're probably similar to that. I'm curious, kind of. I'm not trying to be nosy, but I'm curious about like how you are tweaking things. You know what I mean? How you are, what your plan is, how much different is it from last season? So let's start with Antonio Brown real quick before we go into that.
Okay.
All right. So AB. So I will admit before we get into Antonio Brown that I have a bias against him because I'm a diehard Browns fan, and as you know, he started
with the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I hate the Steelers. You know, if there's a player that's good and seems like he's a good person and he's not dirty, he's just a good player that plays hard and is good, then I can respect that. You know, guys like T.J. Watt comes to mind.
Right.
Even I think Deontay Johnson is a good up and coming receiver. You know, just certain players stick out to me, and if they're good and they're just great players and they don't play dirty or anything like that, then I can respect them, right? I don't like them because they're Steelers, but I can respect them.
Right. Exactly.
But with Antonio Brown, obviously he has a pretty checkered past with the NFL, different teams, different scenarios, and you know, it's not a simple conversation to have. But it started off with him being, you know, one of the best receivers in the NFL, playing for Pittsburgh. Obviously, I knew he was a really good player. But as a Browns fan, you know, we play him twice a year. So in those games, I would see, you know, him either talking crap, or there was one thing that I'll never forget is he returned a punt against the Browns, and the punter went to tackle him, and he like jumped up and kicked him in his chest. And it was like everybody was like laughing about it and like, you know, making memes and stuff. And I'm like, dude, like how did that even just happen? Like, how is that a legal play? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like,
exactly.
So since the Browns were the Browns, nobody cares, and they're always the punchline of jokes. Everybody just didn't bat an eye. But I was thinking, like, how did that just happen? How is that legal? How does nobody care? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just annoying on so many levels. So then eventually, as you know, he leaves the Steelers. And I think he went to, was it the Raiders, then the Patriots?
Yep.
Exactly. Sounds right. Went to the Raiders. Didn't work out there. There was problems. Went to the Patriots. It didn't work out there. There was problems. Then he wasn't in the NFL at all for a while. And then most recently, he got, in my opinion, his last chance with the Bucs.
Exactly.
Which I don't think he would have been on the Bucs roster if not for the recommendation of Tom Brady. Just my opinion.
100%.
Yeah, but when you look at the whole story, man, you see there was a nice little debate on Amanda Congialdi, her Facebook page. She kind of gave her 2 cents, and then of course there's people who disagree, and they went back and forth. But I think she did a good job of just keeping it based on facts and not, you know, nothing personal.
Right.
But yeah, man, when you look at put everything together, you have a guy who was one of the best receivers in the NFL, a guy who's proven even this season that he can still play at a pretty high level, which kind of reminds me of Odell. But also has proved on several occasions that he has done some stuff off the field that's not great to hear. Yeah, so there's some stuff off the field that he's done that's not what you want to hear about for anybody in your team. And then when you talk about what's on the field, I mean, and Colin Cowherd did a good job of covering this, but talks about how when somebody has a history of a certain behavior, so if that behavior is lying, right, or that behavior is not taking accountability, or throwing a temper tantrum when you don't get your way, whatever it is, after a while you see a pattern developing. And so what I've seen with Antonio Brown is when he played for the Steelers, I remember there was at least one time where Vontaze Burfict hit him so hard.
He got knocked out.
Yeah, he got messed up, right? So that obviously leads you to think CTE is involved. But what we've seen from him off the field and on the field is that on the field, it's hard for him to coexist with any team. Didn't work out with the Raiders. He had a problem with wearing a certain helmet. Didn't work out with the Patriots. Couldn't get basically in with their culture. And then it seemed like it was working with the Bucs, and then that was a ticking time bomb too. And then obviously his exit was newsworthy. So yeah, man, I try not to keep things personal because I know it's like I don't know Antonio Brown. You know what I'm saying? So who am I to judge anybody? But at the same time, what he's done and what he hasn't done is what it is, right? Like what we've heard about what he's done off the field is what it is, and then what we've seen his antics on the field as far as how he quit the Bucs, how he dealt with the Raiders, and then how he was with the player with the Steelers. Even though he's one of the best receivers in the NFL, I don't think he acted like he was a true professional. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like at all.
No.
And so I feel similar about Juju Smith-Schuster. I feel similar about Chase Claypool as far as how they handle themselves as professionals. The difference is that with Antonio Brown, you have this history of behavior of lying. Oh yeah, add on to the fake vaccination card that he has. So add that to the list, right? There's all this stuff like that he thought he didn't have to be follow the rules. So then you have on his way out, he makes his grand exit, and then he announces his way through social media that whatever happened on the sideline, he wasn't getting enough looks. He wasn't happy during halftime, and then they tried to put him in. He didn't want to go in. He said they were trying to make him play through an injury. There's a lot of he said, she said. But for me, man, it all comes down to his actions, right? What he does and what he doesn't do, and what his actions have been always selfish, narcissistic, in my opinion. And when it comes down to actually how it played out, he wanted to get certain stats, probably for some incentive money, and that didn't work out for whatever reason. And then the way he handled it was the way he handled it. And so I think that it's obvious that CTE is involved.
Right.
CTE is a tricky thing because you can't really hold it against the person because it's not his fault that he has brain damage. But also,
exactly. Right.
It's like how many strikes you're going to give a guy if he keeps on doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, because a lot of those things, man, had nothing to do with, in my opinion, the CTE. I definitely feel like that he took some volunteers, didn't help him at all.
Yeah.
But you got to think before he came in the field, he was robbing delivery trucks and doing stupid stuff in college, and it's just Antonio Brown is the classic. I can do whatever I want and not expect consequences for it, and it's crazy to me. Like, he's stiffing people on money, not paying people.
Yeah, I heard about
lying about vaccination cards, the whole incident with the Steelers, with the Patriots, with the Raiders. You can go down a list, and it's crazy that people actually sympathize with him. I'm like, if this dude was working at your job and he was your coworker, you would beg for him to be fired.
Yeah.
Like, please fire this dude. Absolutely. Like, why are we working with him? Yeah. It's just the fact he's an NFL athlete and you get to see him in a different light. And, it's always woe is me when it comes to Antonio Brown. But no, Antonio Brown he really should have been out of the league with the fake vaccination card, in my personal opinion. And the whole debacle about me not getting his incentive money and stuff, well, you got suspended for 3 games because you lied. Not because Tom Brady lied or didn't throw you the ball or anything of that nature. You lied, Really should have been in jail, so that's what it sense. Yeah. Go ahead.
You know what cracked me up? One thing, sorry to interrupt you. When he came out and publicly said some ignorant thing about Tom Brady can't do shit by himself. Right? And Tom Brady's like the GOAT. So that alone is idiotic. Then he took it a step further and he says, okay, well, Tom Brady has his boy Gronk, on the team, and he's making money and incentives, and he's getting paid this much. Well, why am I not getting paid that much? Why am I on on a deal? What you call it?
An incentive deal.
Yeah, you know, like a prove it deal, right?
Yeah, prove it deal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Camry, this is one of my biggest pet peeves in life, bro. Like, I cannot stand when people don't have self-awareness, right? So for him to say, why am I on a prove it deal? Right. I'm thinking, like, dude, have you met yourself? Like, do you live in your own body? Do you realize, like, all the things you've done for yourself to hurt your cause throughout your career? Like, I feel like Antonio Brown is the epitome. I think he's the definition of what people used to try to claim other people to be, all wrapped up in one. Like, a lot of these claims and stuff that people had about, like, T.O. and OBJ and sometimes Cam Newton, those were just, I felt like they were stupid and made no sense because the guys were passionate. I don't really feel like that was a distraction. But this dude, this dude is a distraction, period. Yeah. Like, and it's sad because he should definitely be a Hall of Famer. Yeah. 100% so. But, like, I heard Shannon Sharp say the other day, now since they consider off the field incidents with, to your Hall of Fame recommendation, I surely doubt he goes in. Or it's going to take an extremely long time, because you can't deny the numbers. The numbers are still there, but it's just crazy, man. And like you said, how can you ask how am I on a proof deal? You should be saying, thank God I got a job. Like, period. Like, he's on, like, what? Like, is he like a cat? He has 9 lives? Like, what is going on? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, the sad part about it is, man, I feel like somebody will pick him up again. I feel like somebody's going to have that mindset of to where either we need him or we can change him. And both of those answers are wrong. Yeah. It's just not worth it. Yeah, it's just not worth it. Yeah. It's like almost insulting your intelligence at this time. Like, he's given you such a long rap sheet of a certain behavior that now if you're willing to take that chance, it's obvious that you don't really care about the culture of your team. Culture. Yeah, you don't care about any of those things. Yeah, like, it couldn't be any more obvious. You don't care about it. Yeah. But yeah, man, I didn't know where you stood with Antonio Brown. I'm pretty sure I knew, like, where you stood with Coach Flores. So that wasn't a really big chance. With Antonio Brown, obviously people have strong opinions, and I was prepared. If you defended Antonio Brown, it is what it is. But man, I mean, my opinion of him is very low. I think he's on his, he's already passed his 3 strikes, and I mean, it is what it is, man. I wish him the best. I would like him to get help. You know what I mean? I think he needs a little bit of mental health assistance. But I don't even know if he will get that. You know what I mean? I think he just lives a very selfish life. It's all about himself. And so it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, you kind of start feeling bad for somebody. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't help themselves. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Same page. Yeah, pretty much. All right. So last thing, man. With the Mississippi Panthers, give me a little bit of insight for this season. What's going on right now? What your practice schedule looks like. If you're changing anything as far as, how you organize things or preseason games like that. Like, what does it look like from right now until April 2nd, whenever our first game is? Well, we just started camp Saturday of last week. We had a pretty much all-day football camp. It was a pretty dope thing, man. We were doing football from about 7 a.m. to about 4 p.m. Just, going through everything, going through the motions, and, just treating it like an actual football camp instead of just quote-unquote practice. So we're back in practice currently at the moment, and we do have a couple of joint practices lined up. Hopefully those things can still come to fruition early, I think late February, early March. We're still trying to make sure those teams are still on board for that. And, man, we got a new head coach. She was our offensive coordinator last season. My head coach from last season, who's also an owner, he decided to just go into the ownership role, and he's also taken over our youth department. I'm not sure if you saw that we started a
a youth branch of the team that we're going to build up and try to grow. And we have the junior Panthers, and we have the flag team as well with all young ladies. And the junior Panthers is just a pee-wee tackle, to where we have little boys and little girls come join our team and we play around and do a little 11U travel team and things like that, just to try to teach kids about football, teach them fundamentals, teach them life lessons and the whole nine. So we've got a lot of stuff going right now. Actually, man, we've got just so much good happening for us right now that I'm pretty much excited about. I really like the additions that we have on the staff. I like the additions that we've added to the coaching staff. Everything is changing. I think our culture is changing a bit. I think we've recruited younger. We've recruited, people who aren't used to a system, who are used to playing for other teams, who just, kind of free ball it. So coming here, it's like a breath of fresh air. Yeah. Actually having some structure, actually having some communication and things like that. So yeah, man, it's just April 2nd. It's coming fast. It's coming faster than what people think, man. And we're making some big changes, making some big decisions, even in the front office. So yeah, man, I'm just excited. I'm really excited for people to see the product that we put on the field. I'm really excited to see what the WNFC brings to the field come April 2nd period, because of course the how everybody else goes, it'll help us out as well. So yeah, man, the Mississippi Panthers has a lot going on right now. If I smoked cigarettes, I would need a pack of them a day because my nerves are shot. It's just shot, man. But I'm trying to be dope. I'm trying to create something dope. Trying to create something that's worth mentioning. And I always tell my players, man, we're in a unique situation here in Mississippi, because if you look at a Denver, if you look at a Texas, if you look at any other state that's still in the WNFC, just about, they have attraction. Even Alabama has the Alabama College. They have attraction to where it can take away from the thought of women's football. Here we don't have anything. The closest thing to a professional team we have is Jackson State with Deion Sanders being here. And other than that, man, it's nothing. We don't have a Denver Nuggets. We don't have a Denver Broncos. We don't have that. So it's virtually no competition. And in Mississippi, you can have dogs play football and you'll pack a stadium out. It's just the favorite sport of the state. So yeah, man, we're in a position to really make some waves. We always kind of sort of pack our home games out. So I'm just excited to see it grow and excited to see where we go. Now I really want to put a good product on for you, good product on for everybody in the league, for our fans. So yeah, I'm excited to display some stuff.
Yeah, I'm with it, man. I'm really excited for you guys too. I'm obviously pulling for you since I have a relationship with you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love your team, and I think the only way that I would have to root against you is if we met in the playoffs, but that wouldn't be until the ship anyways. So
right.
So we don't know when or if that'll ever happen. But last
let's hope it happens.
I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool.
That would be dope. I would like that game a lot. I think Marcel said something about it on the coaches meeting. He wanted to do some. A lot of coaches wanted to do some inter-league games, but travel and talks and stuff like that.
That's tough.
He said he would like to play the Panthers and stuff like. He was just throwing out names, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, that'll be a fun game. I would like to play Denver. Why not?
That would be. So last question before I let you go is your guys' schedule. Since the schedule's already out, how do you feel about it? I know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. What were you about to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, like, do you feel like it's a tough schedule? Do you feel like it's kind of in the middle? Do you feel like there's certain games you have circled, or what is your first take?
Well, of course, we play Texas. That's always going to be a tough game. Yeah. There's always going to be something. But what I like about my schedule is it puts me in a position to show that we are a team that people need to worry about, because it puts me against people in the Atlantic Conference, at least, who all were playoff hopefuls or went to the playoffs, except for, I believe, Alabama. But we played Alabama twice and we 1-1 against them. And we play Houston first, and Houston is revamping and rebuilding, and people can't sleep on Houston. Houston is right there at being good. They just got to add a couple pieces, and I see what they're doing. I see what they've got going on. So we play Houston first, then we play Kansas City, who was in the playoffs. Then the next week after that, we play Texas, of course, the champs. Then we play Atlanta, who's revamped. We play Philadelphia. That's just going to be a hard game simply for the trip alone. Not even the fact that Philly is actually a good team, because they are a good team. That's the secondary issue, is getting there. That's the hard part. And then we come back home and play Houston. Then you got the playoffs. So yeah, man, our schedule is going to push us mentally, which I like. I don't like anything that we can breeze through, because people always try to put an asterisk by your name. So I really wanted us to be challenged, and I like how they kind of sort of mapped our schedule out. Teams, I definitely think we can beat. I definitely think we can win against. So I'm just excited about it. I like the fact that we've played Texas already and kind of got that taste in our mouth. I love rematches. We have a great record when it comes to rematches. So, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. Well, as you know, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Definitely.
That's mutual. We covered decent amount of things, and so I'll probably, until you tell me to go away, I'll probably have you on once a year, man. I think, we have a few things in common. Our teams have some stuff in common, and it's kind of nice just to at least get once a year a check-in to kind of see where we're at, because I expect Denver and Mississippi to be contenders for at least the near future, and so that's definitely it's kind of cool to see check in at least once a year and chop it up and see what's going on. But
like I said, man, anytime you want me on, just let me know. I'll come on way more often. Even if you wanted to, have me on with somebody else and we can talk, maybe some more coaches or something. It doesn't matter to me, man. I like it, like I said, man, I like talking to you, man. It's pretty cool, man. I appreciate it.
It's mutual. All right, brother. Well, I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, you have a good one.
All right, have a good night.
You too.